on page 600. That would be skipping way too much. I believe where we left off last time, because we've got to get through Lirio today, was at the end of the chapter 25. They have the little family conference down in the reservoir. Sabriel's, kind of getting healed and such. And she and Touchstone kind of, put the thumb screws to Sam about learning how to be an ab horse and in waiting, reading the book, etc., playing with the bells, and Sam's not ready and such. So we're picking up with chapter 26. A letter from Nicholas. Okay? And Sam gets the letter and reads it. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, other than to point out Nick tells him he's already on his way, and where is he going? Is he going straight to Belisar?
No.
No, why not?
Because he heard of something.
What's the something he heard of? Something called a lightning trap. And he says it's near some town named Edge. Okay, that's pretty much it. Well, what is this lightning trap? It's kind of like a trap for lightning. It's something that's attracting lightning. And we're going to see a spot in here where when Lirio is still with the Claire, she's going to, how do I put this? She's going to get a taste of what it's like to see. She's going to see through the other Claire, as it were. Okay? And she's going to see Nick and Hedge at the Red Lake near the town of Edge. And Hedge is going to say something about the lightning. It's like, I don't remember what it is, 4 strikes a second. So, I mean, it's like whatever's down here, it's attracting lightning. Okay? And notice, Nick is curious what's attracting the lightning. Well, Hedge knows what's attracting the lightning. He's just trying to free it. We don't know. Well, you don't know what it is at that point or at this point, unless you've read the next book, which hopefully you have. So he goes on and talks about that, and he talks about stuff in the Old Kingdom and how it's all scientific and everything can be explained by science, right? Sam's kind of like, not really. Okay. So his sister comes in, page 386. Sam's sister comes in. I don't know if it's warm in here or if I'm just burning up. I am burning up. So his sister comes in because mom and dad are off, saving the kingdom, so to speak. And she's there for what purpose? She comes in for what reason? One, she's worried about her parents, especially her mother. So, get reading, start preparing, learn how to be abhorsing. But she comes in, 386, and she kind of notices, she looks around. Notice, he's at his workbench tinkering, we're told. Top of 386. Small figurines of cricketers, thin bars of gold, silver, reels of bronze wire, scattering of sapphires, small but still smoking forge built into the room's former fireplace, and charter magic everywhere. It's just like literally floating in the air. The faded after images of charter marks shown in the air crawled lazily across the walls and ceiling clustered by the chimney. Clearly, Samuth was not just creating costume jewelry or the promised extra tennis rackets. And she asked, what are you making? Some of the charter symbols, or rather the fading reflections of them, were extremely powerful. They were marks she would be reluctant to use herself. Now, we don't really know anything about Elamir. We don't know what her level of charter mage is. But by saying she would be reluctant to use them, she's a couple years older, that's meant to tell us dangerous stuff that he's playing with. Okay? So what are you making? Things. You wouldn't be interested in them. How do you know? Now, Her how do you know is a good response because his you wouldn't be interested in him. What kind of response is that?
Dismissive.
Dismissive? What else? Typical brother to sister. What's he really saying? Go away. Leave me alone. Okay? Her response, how do you know? Notice, tide of resentment, we're told, between them. So what does he say? Toys. I'm making toys. Is he literally making toys? Well, the little cricketer is kind of a toy. But he's also making other stuff. For example, we're going to see, after he leaves, he takes with him a little mechanical frog thing. Okay? And when Mogget shows up, spoiler, Mogget shows up. When Mogget shows up, he's going to be like, you made that? Yeah, I made it. It's a gift for Mom. And Mogget's like, whoa. And then when the dog shows up, you made that? Yeah, I make things. Which is going to be really, really important for the third book. Okay? Because of the charter and what the charter is in. What's the charter in again?
Which?
Royalty. Claire.
The 5, 7, or the 9?
Just all together. Abhorsons, right?
The bell.
Stones. And the wall. Yeah, we're skipping the 9 for now. Okay? And the wall. Well, these are people. These are what?
Physical.
Artifacts, right? These had to have
Person did it.
makers. In fact, those who made this are technically referred to all throughout the wall makers.
They're the ones on the quote from the sword, on swords.
Okay? Well, what do we see in, let's take the royalty for a moment. So we have Touchstone and Sabriel. So royalty, Abhorsen, they marry, they produce 2 children. Now what do the children have? They've got these 2 lines. Well, we're going to find out something else. There's also an element, not of the wall, but the wall makers, so to speak. It's Sam. Sam's a maker. Okay? Yeah, it's good. Stroud, I'm confusing my authors. Nix is really, really good at creating all of these loose threads. And then in that final book, he ties every single last one of them up. Okay? So, he says toys. I'm making toys. I know it's not a fit occupation for a prince. I know. I ought to be reading the damn book. So, he says, I can't sleep. That's when she goes on and talks about her mother. You know, she's worried about her. You know, Sam, she'll be fine. Stones will heal her. No, she needs help. It's you, Sam. She needs you. I just wanted to say that studying to be the Abhorsen, page 387, is the most important thing, Sam. If you need more time, you just have to say, I'll reorganize your schedule. Because she's Big Bossy's sister, who's co-regent of the kingdom when Mom and Dad are gone. So she says, I'll give you some study time in your schedule. Okay? She gets up to leave, page 388. Sam stares into space and thinks there's nowhere to turn. He's feeling boxed in. Well, there's nowhere where to turn. Nowhere in Belisar. Nowhere in the palace. Because there is some place to turn, right? Because he does turn. Where is it? Out. Leave. When he leaves, what's he really doing? Running away. Haley's exactly right. He's right. He's fleeing from his responsibilities. So that when Lirio meets up with him, around 587, she meets up a little bit earlier than that, but at 587, he's asleep because he's passed out. She's done some healing on him. She calls him a spoiled brat. Well, he kind of is. Okay? And it's now that he has some responsibility in his life, he doesn't want to face up to it. No, there's a good reason why he doesn't want to face up to it. What's his basic problem with his responsibility?
He's scared to death of it. It's his greatest fear.
Literally. And thank you for the pun. He's scared to death of it. He's scared to death of going into death. Me and death, they don't mix. Okay? So, he decides to leave. Okay? He checks out, runs. Okay? I'm skipping a bit since we have a lot to cover. And he leaves Belisare. He goes on to a town, and he's interrupted by a couple of constables. Nice British/Australian term for cops, local cops. Okay? Sam just says, my name's just, I'm called Sam. I'm a traveler. And they're like, really? And he gets a little upset, and he moves too quickly at one point, and his hat lifts up, and they see his charter mark. That immediately tells them he's a mage of some kind. Okay? Then what else do they notice? Oh, look.
Bells.
He's got a bandolier of bells. Mark of a necromancer. So what does Sam do? He thinks. He thinks later. He hits him with a couple of spells. He thinks he kills him. Page 412. In that instant, Sam has pictured two charter marks in his mind, drawing them from the endless flow like a skilled fisherman selecting his catch from a glittering shoal. He infuses them. He holds them into his breath. He blows them out. One hits one guy, striking him with blindness. The other one, calls out necromancer, and that's when Sam really goes crazy. 413. Drawing several charter marks in his mind, he let them grow in his throat, roared out a death spell to strike everyone unprotected in the room. They leave him like an incandescent spark, leaping to the two constables with terrible force. In a second, it was quiet as they tumbled to the floor like broken stringed puppets. He's thinking,
Is that kind of like when Touchstone goes berserk?
yeah,
Okay. Like, is that where he gets that from?
yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it's from. Okay? Because notice, Sabriel never does stuff like that. She's always calm, cool, reserved. She's the James Bond, of the characters, okay? Thought James Bond because I was in my office listening and one of the James Bond themes came on. So, weird how the mind works. So, Sam thinks I killed them. They were doing their job. They represent my father. They work for him. They're protecting people from necromancers and free magic, and I killed them. Packs up and runs. Okay? Then we get to chapter 29. So, he's running. Meanwhile, back at the Claire, and so Nix is going to start doing that kind of thing. Going from one scene to another, one episode to another. Well, where did we leave off with Lyriel? She just discovered the book of remembrance.
Oh, she's about to head off down the river.
Kind of, yeah. She's about to. She doesn't know she is.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
in that big old room, the crypt, Lyriel's path and all that kind of stuff. Still trying to figure out what all that means. Okay? So she and the dog talk, and the dog says there are Claire coming, and so she has to go across that little bridge, and she goes across 422, and there are Rael and Sanar, however you pronounce your name.
Aren't those like the two big ones?
Those are the twins. Those
Like
are
the
the,
biggest, not biggest Claire, but you know what I mean? Like the most powerful.
they're powerful, yeah, probably the most powerful. Okay, so they tell her stand up. She stands up. 422, 423. One of them, she's not sure which, says, don't worry about missing dinner or the rounds or any of that kind of stuff. You've been a little busy, we understand. And they say, we keep seeming to meeting you on your birthday. Because now she's 19. She was 14 when they met her last. And you've come into a birthright. She goes, what do you mean a birthright? She's thinking, birthright? That's the sight. I'm going to get my sight? Not a trio of strange magical devices. You know that alone amongst the Claire, you have never been seen in the visions. I doubt that she needs to be reminded of that. Never a glimpse, at least till now. It's her birthday. They've seen her. An hour ago, we, the 9-Day Watch, we saw that you would be here and in another place. We didn't even know this place existed. Okay, the Clear have lived on that glacier for 1,000 years or so. They didn't even know where they are at this point ever existed before.
They're not like, I thought they were the ones that carved out the glacier and stuff.
The Clear were. So this is telling us they don't know all of their history. Keep in mind, what do they tend to do all day?
Look at the future.
They look to the future. It's kind of hard to be aware of the present and the past when you're always kind of, out there. So, we didn't even suspect this bridge existed, nor the room beyond. That is the room that you came out from. Which also had what? The 3 magical things she now has. The panpipes, the book, and...
The mirror.
Yeah, the mirror, the dark mirror. I remember it was on the cover. But it is clear that while the Clear of today have not seen you in their visions, the Clear of long ago saw enough to prepare this place and the things you hold. In other words, this bridge, that room, they were all made for one reason. You. I don't know about you, but if I were Liriel, I'd kind of get a slightly elevated sense of myself at this point. If somebody 1,000 years ago saw me and they did all this just for me, that must mean I'm kind of, significant. This was all to prepare you. Prepare me for what? I don't want anything. I just want to be normal. I don't want the book. I don't want the mirror. I don't want the pipes. I just want to see. The sight may yet come. She's lying. This is false hope. This is like telling somebody, some kid in high school who runs track and thinks he can be. You might get really fast. You might get as fast someday as Usain Bolt. Just keep trying. Ain't gonna happen. That's genetics, man. Liriel, the sight may yet come to you and be the stronger for the waiting, but for now you've been given other gifts. Other gifts that I'm sure will be sorely needed by the kingdom. And as all of us of the blood are given gifts, who are all of us of the blood? It's all 3 of them, because they all have the charter in their blood. Notice, different gifts, right?
What would the royalties gift be?
Think Elamir, man. She's a good administrator. She keeps the trains running on time. Probably, okay? Hierarchy, I don't know. Something, obviously. So, we're all given gifts. We're also laden with the responsibility to use them wisely and well. See, there's the problem with Sam. Mom thinks what about Sam? In training, in waiting. That is his gift. What if it's not? If it's not his gift, people talk about gifts and stuff all the time, or talent maybe. Some people say, you're a born writer. Ben Jonson wrote an epitaph. Ben Jonson, a 17th century poet, wrote an epitaph on Shakespeare, a funeral poem about Shakespeare that was printed in the first collected edition of Shakespeare's works, 7 years after Shakespeare died. And in that, he talks about Shakespeare working. He also says, the guy was a natural writer, but he had to also work at it. In other words, he wouldn't turn a paper in and it would just be perfect first draft. His papers had elisions, things crossed out, words written in, because he had to go through and revise and revise and revise and revise. Okay? What's her point? The gift that you have, that's what you're supposed to excel at. What's the problem?
They think his gift is Amherst.
Okay.
Let's
Let's extrapolate from that to say our lives. how do you know what your quote-unquote gift is?
Experimenting.
You experiment, okay? A lot of people spend their whole lives thinking this is my, and it's not. They think, they move to Nashville. I'm going to be a songwriter. How many songwriters are there in Nashville? I've actually had a lot of them in graduate classes, okay? Some of them are good. I haven't had any who hit the top of the charts. I've had some who have written songs, have been performed by George Strait and other guys like that, okay? But the individuals themselves have never been, okay? You got to figure out what that gift is. Notice, are they telling her, here are your gifts? No. How's she supposed to figure the gifts out? She's got these three things. Those are clues. What is Thor's gift?
It's big hammer.
Big old hammer named Mjolnir. And he's the only one who can lift it, except for Cap. Okay. So, we are laden with the responsibility. Swallow that. We are laden with the responsibility to use them wisely and well. You have the potential for great power, Liriel, but I fear that you will also face great tests. What are the great tests the Claire have to face? What's the great danger the Claire have to face?
Their own past, apparently.
Future.
Just whatever they
The
lock
future
up
is not
in
coming
there.
back.
The future is not, okay.
The cuckoo.
They sit in a room all day and they look at a wall. How dangerous is that really? Okay.
Mentally very.
If you're Abhorsen, okay, so say you're going to choose your gift. You're going to be Claire or do you want to be Abhorsen? You want to go into death? Or do you want to foretell the future? Possibly. Talk about the many possible futures. She pauses. You will meet many trials on a path that lies unseen. We don't see your path. A little bit of applicability to real life. How many of us know our paths? I mean, I'm twice your age. I'm still trying to figure it out. Okay? But you will never forget that you are a daughter of the Claire. You may not see, but you will remember. She becomes a remembrancer. In fact, when she meets Margaret's going to go, you're a remembrancer? Really? You're the first one in over 500 years. It's not been one of those in an awful long time. And I think, I'm not positive, I think the last one might have been Clore, or who becomes Clore of the mask. Okay? So, in the remembering, you will see the hidden past that holds the secrets of the future. She shivers at the words because she doesn't have a clue what it means. But she kind of latches on, what do you mean great tests? Because these aren't like A, B, C. What kind of tests are we talking here? When we saw you here this evening, we saw you somewhere else too. Somewhere we have labored for many years to see without success. Now, we already know what that place is because we heard them talking with Sabriel and Touchstone about it, the Red Lake. On the Red Lake in a boat of woven reeds, the sun was high and bright, so we know it's in summer. You look much as you do now, so it's probably this coming summer. So between now and then, you have to get there. And there's going to be a young man with you, sick or wounded man. One we were asked to seek for the king. So the king, Touchstone, said, keep an eye out for this guy. We don't know exactly where he is now or how or when he will come to the Red Lake. He's surrounded by powers that cloak our vision. His future is dark. We do know that he lies at the center of some great and terrible danger. So you're going to be with him at this lake. What have they just told about him? He will be at the center of some great and terrible danger. Ergo, you will be at the center of some great and terrible danger. not just to us, but to the whole kingdom. And he will be there with you in the reed boat in the height of summer. What's it got to do with me? Well, what is she not hearing? You were there. I mean, her point is, why would I be there? Why are they telling her this? You are supposed to be there. See, they don't usually say to people, here's the future we've seen, this is what you must do. They usually just say, here are the futures we've seen. Up to you to do what you're going to do. Here they're saying, this is what you need to do. I mean, the Red Lake, this man, I'm just a second assistant librarian. What have I got to do with anything? We don't know. Visions are fragmented. Dark cloud spreads like spilt ink across the pages of possible futures. All we know is that this man is important for both good and ill, and we have seen you with him. We think that you must leave the glacier. You must go south, find the reed boat on the Red Lake, and find him. Why? We'll find out then, won't we? That's not a welcome thought per se. Okay? So, she thinks she's being thrown out, and they say, we're going to take you up to the observatory. She goes, whoa, I can't. I can't see. I'm not awoken. Only those who have the sight can go there. Don't worry about it. It's difficult for you to gaze upon your heart's desire when you may not possess it. Page 427. If the danger were any less, or someone else could shoulder the burden, we would not press you so. If the vision were not of this place that resists us, we could probably show you elsewhere too. But now we need the power of the observatory and the full strength of the watch. That is, we need to try to show you this. The reason they say we think you need to be there is we don't see you anywhere else. And everything else is kind of shut off. So, they go on up. Okay? The voice of the 9-day watch says, I see you, but she can't go by. She's not awoken, etc., etc. They say, shut up. This is Ariel's daughter. She's got to be blindfolded. They say, fine. Okay? So they go up, they take her. They tell her, when she asks, when do I have to go? Now. Today, they say, page 431, a boat's being prepared for you. It will be spelled. It will take you down from the Rattle into Kyre or Kier or however. Am I going alone? They kind of hedge. That is how you've been seen, so that's how you'll have to go. Where's the dog? The dog ditched her when the dog said, oh, there are people coming. We don't know where the dog goes when it leaves. It just kind of, poof, it disappears. And then it reappears on its own. Okay? So, they hold hands and they do their kumbaya sight kind of thing. 434, 435. They summon all this magic. They watch. Okay. 435. Look, says Rael. The wand she held suddenly became a bottle of bright green glass. Learn, said Sanar. She waved her wand in a pattern directly above Liriel's head. They throw the contents of the bottle, seemingly at Liriel, but as the liquid flew over her head, Sanar's wand transformed it into ice, a pane of pure, translucent ice that hung horizontally in the air above her head. So she taps it, and now it glows, and Liriel looks at it. Page 436. There's a man standing with his foot on a rock, looking at something below him. She looks back even more to try to get a better view. Makes her dizzy. She's standing next to the man. Now, she's there. She was standing next to the man. She could hear his rasping, unhealthy sounding breath, smell the faintest hint of sweat, feel the heat and humidity of a summer day. She could taste the awful taint of free magic, stronger and more vile than she could ever have imagined. That is, stronger than when she was around the Stoken, stronger than when the disreputable dog was being made, which was pretty strong, stronger even than her memory of the Stoken, so strong that the bile rose in her throat, she had to force it back. And we get the vision, chapter 30, Nicholas in the pit. Young, about her age, sick, tall, stooped over, nagging pain, bit his middle, blonde, shaggy hair, okay, standing on a hill. He's looking at the pit that's being dug, people carrying baskets of dirt and stuff. She wonders how they can work with all the corrosive taint of free magic around them, page 438. And then she realizes these aren't people. They're dead. They're zombies. And now she feels the death all around. Again, she kind of feels like throwing up. And now the man is looking up. He's looking at the sky. Okay? And he looks at something on his wrist, watch. It's not working. He lowers his arm, but he keeps looking up, and there's thunderclouds. And then, page 440. 4 in approximately 50 seconds. It's getting more frequent. He calls out Hedge. Okay? He and Hedge talk for a bit. They talk about the thing that's down below. And Hedge asks, 442, who is that with you? And he points to beside Nicholas. Looks to where he points, doesn't see anything. All he sees is, shining and the image of the shining hemispheres. Nothing. Looking straight at Lyrio. No one. I'm tired. It'll be a great discovery. Spy, you'll burn at the feet of my master. How come Hedge can see Lyrio, but Nicholas can't? Charter? Lyrio's clear. She ought to be able to perceive. Okay, I see what you mean. Could be. Nick isn't aware of the charter. In fact, his mindset doesn't allow for the existence of the charter. Okay? So that's a possibility. Because he doesn't believe she can be there, he won't see her. Why else?
Are you asking why he can see her, or why can't Nick see her?
Both. Either one.
Isn't it a vision?
Yeah, I mean, this is what she is seeing on this. But in what she is seeing on this, Hedge sees her.
Yeah, I thought Nick could see her, and he was like, "Oh, hello."
Not yet, he can't. Not yet, he can't.
Okay.
That's why Hedge says, who is that next to him? What are you talking about, man? There's nobody next to him.
I'm wondering why they couldn't even see her at all.
And then Hedge says, spy, you'll burn at the feet of my master. Flames leapt from the necromancer's hand, spilled on the ground. Red flames cloaked in black choking smoke. They raced up the hill like wildfire, straight towards Lyrio. Go ahead.
Is it a vision of the present, not the future?
What? How do you have a vision of the present if they're just seeing?
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess that's why.
They're looking at
Yeah, this isn't the future that they're seeing.
Yeah, they're seeing right now.
Okay, that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, they're seeing this right now. But what has happened to Lyrio? She's kind of in this vision. She's there, next to Nick. Nick doesn't see her because she's not physically there.
She like astral projection.
She's kind of like metaphysically there. Exactly. Okay? Which is why Hedge can see her. He's a necromancer. At the same time, she saw Nicholas' eyes suddenly focus. Now he sees her. Oh, hello. I expect you're only another hallucination. He's not with us all the time. Nick isn't. Hands gripped her shoulders and she pulled back into the observatory. Pulled, notice, back into. That kind of sounds like she was physically there, and they reach up into the frozen ice that had been above her and pull her back down. Ice shatters, Lyrio blinks. Rael, you saw. Not a question. Okay, so what does that mean? This is what the site is like. So you want to be a Claire or do you want to be an Abhorsen? Notice they're both dangerous. Yes, sorely troubled. Is that what it's like to have the sight? Not exactly. We mostly see short flashes, brief fragments from many different parts of the future, all mixed up. Only together in the watch here in the observatory can we unify the vision. Even then, only the person who stands where you have stood will see it all. In other words, Rael is saying, what did you see? Because we didn't see everything you saw. Why not? Notice what's all important about that little description. Well, I don't see from any of your perspectives. Why? Because I'm not where you are. Notice what Rael says there. Only when we all gather together and see here in the observatory can we do what? Unite all the pictures together and take all the little individual shards and make a mosaic of it and have it make sense. Okay? Lyriel thinks about that. What am I supposed to do? That is, okay, so you're going to send me off to this lake. What am I supposed to do there? We don't know. Page 444. We've been trying to see around Red Lake for several years without success. Then all of a sudden, we saw you in the room below. The vision we have shown you, that is, we saw that. And then we saw you and a man in a boat on the lake. They're linked. We don't know how. The man Nicholas is the key. Once you find him, we think, then you'll know what to do. But he's with the necromancer. They're digging up something terrible. This is Abhorsen work. We've told them. We've sent word. But you still got to go. Okay? So they send her off. Page 448. And they run into Aunt Kirith. Aunt Kirith says, they tell Aunt Kirith, shut up. We've got the, voice of the, the 9-day watch, etc. And page 453, back to Prince Sameth. Okay? So he's run, and he got injured. Okay? 458, he's lying there. He's in the wood. He's cold. He's sore. He's injured. And we hear, page right in the middle, a little lost princeling weeping in the forest. I would have thought you had more steel in your spine, Prince Sameth. Still, I'm often wrong. And he hears a voice, like, who is that? Okay. He tastes free magic. Voice kind of recognizes it. Page 460. 461. Mogget, what are you doing here? Looking for you, it should be startlingly obvious to even the most dull-witted prince. Loyal servant of the Abhorsen, that's me, ready to babysit a moment's notice. No trouble at all. Now get off that horse, make a fire, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, Mogget talks about the bells. I was already awake, 463. Something is happening in the kingdom. Things long dormant are stirring or being woken. What are the things long dormant? It's not hedge. Yeah, whatever they're digging up. And the ripples of their waking have spread to Abhorsen's house, for whatever wakes threatens the Abhorsen. So what is it? Mogget says, not sure. Okay? They talk about his friend, and Sam tells Mogget about how Sam thinks about things, scientific materialist and such, page 464. Mogget asks, where is he? Okay? I don't know, but he's somewhere near Edge. And Mogget just kind of starts talking to himself because he needs someone smart to talk with. Lightning Trap, Red Lake, King and Abhorsen, Ancelstier, trying to stop a great multitude going to their deaths. Friend of the Abhorsen in waiting, Prince of Sorts, himself on the other side of the wall. Claire, sightless, save for visions of total ruin. This does not bode well. Because what have they seen in the future? Other than, so far, Lyriel. Total ruin. Utter destruction. Everything. Not just the old kingdom. Everything. Boom. Gone. Okay? The lightning trap. I have not heard that name precisely. Something stirs. Sleep grips and dulls my memory. Why doesn't Mogget keep talking? Because of the spell that he's under. He can't. Whatever it is, and whatever that thing is that is sleeping, it's connected to Mogget and his what's controlling him. Okay? So Sam goes on and says, I killed a couple constables. Mogget says, you didn't kill him. How does he know that he didn't kill him?
If they were the real ones, then they have like a spell that dismisses that kill command.
Yeah, possibly.
Oh, or you could feel the life coming out.
You didn't feel them dead, did you? No. Then they're not dead. But he also says because they are your father's sworn constables, they have a protection about them. You couldn't have killed them. Okay? So that at least puts Sam a little bit at ease. Page 474. Mogget says, when Sam asks about the lightning trap, Mogget says, I don't know, but I mislike the sound of it. A lightning trap, a gatherer of lightning. Surely it cannot be. What? Probably only a coincidence. Perhaps your friend does only go to see a place where lightning strikes more commonly than it should. But there are powers working here, powers that hate everything of the charter, blood, and stone. I smell plots and long-laid plans, Samuel. I do not like it at all. So what should we do? We got to go find your friend Nick. So we have Muriel heading down from the north to go find Nick. We have Sam, another part of the north, also heading down to find Nick. Okay. Chapter 32, they run into some dead hands being controlled by a necromancer pretty good distance away. And page 492. Yeah, 491. So Mogget's caught some fish, and Sam pulls out, page 491, a bejeweled clockwork frog that had an interesting anatomical addition of wings made of feathery bronze. It says it's a flying frog. Mogget looks with interest. As Sam lightly touches the frog's back, it glows with charter magic, okay? Opens one eye, then another, flaps its wings, starts to fly. Mogget, pretty. Does it do anything? In other words, is it useful? Leaps into the air. It eats several mosquitoes. That'd be useful if you're human and, near the river and such. Catches bugs, said Sam. Thought it would be handy for Mother since she spends so much time in swamps hunting the dead. Mogget, you made it? Completely your invention. Yes. Expecting criticism. But Mogget was silent, just watching the frog's aerobatics, his green eyes following its every move. Then the cat shifted his gaze to Sam, making him nervous. He tried to meet that green stare, but he had to look away. Notice, Mogget is looking directly in Sam's eyes. Why? Why do you look in somebody else's eyes really closely? One, either you're wildly, madly in love. I don't think that's the case here. Or you're trying to figure them out. You're trying to stare them down. To look, as George Bush famously said about Vladimir Putin, I looked in his eyes and I saw his soul. He's a good guy. Wrong. Idiot. Okay? So.
Is he trying to tell that he's not the person? Or is he figuring
let's finish this little passage. Then the cat shifted his gaze to Sam, making him nervous. He tried to meet that green stare. He had to look away. He suddenly realized that there were dead nearby, lots of dead. Mogget felt them too. I think the reason he's looking at him, he's trying to figure, you're not going to be the ab horse in waiting. He's trying to figure out, okay, so what are his gifts? Obviously, what are his gifts?
Creating.
He's a maker, okay? He can create stuff. Notice, it's his own invention. Invention doesn't just mean the making of it. What's it really mean?
You designed it, you came up with the original concept.
He came up with the idea of it, okay? A lot of people can make stuff. Give them blueprints. It's the drawing, the blueprints. It's coming up with the concept of the thing, right? What's really, I shouldn't ask this question. For me, the hardest part of writing a paper was always coming up with what to write about. The writing of it, once I had the idea, it was just, logoria on the paper. I mean, you just, and then rearrange the words and stuff, okay? Diarrhea of the mouth. So, they sense all the dead and stuff, and they start to talk, and Margaret says, you could go out there and send them all back to death. Come on, you're abhorsen in training, page 494. Your mother would. Yeah, really. I'm not my mother. Margaret, does the walker choose the path or the path the walker? Why does he throw that statement out?
He's trying to see if he's read the book.
And notice, Sam is clueless. What? What does that mean? It means you never finished the Book of the Dead. How far did he get into it? He hasn't even opened it. Merely getting close to the book makes him physically ill. Okay? Margaret says, it means we're in trouble. Now, could Margaret take care of him? Yeah. But Sam would have to take off the collar, and then he'd have unbound Margaret thing, whatever he is, to deal with, okay? So, Margaret says, when Sam whispers, I wish you're a proper person. Well, you should be at your age. What does that wish really express? What does he really mean when he says, I wish I were a proper person? That he has the courage to be it?
That he wouldn't disappoint his parents.
That he wouldn't disappoint his parents? I wish I was man enough, even though the current one isn't a man. Well, you should be, but I suppose we'll have to make do with whatever you do know. By the way, where's your own sword? Unspelled blade will not cut the stuff of Shadowlands. I left it in Belisir. I didn't think. Well, that's obvious, as Margaret says. I thought Nick was probably in trouble, but not this much. That's the problem with growing up as a prince. You always think everything will get worked out for you. Right? Daddy's the king, Mama's the queen. Solve the problem, and they do. Or you turn out like your sister and think nothing gets done unless you do it. Now, I kind of take offense at that because I'm kind of that way too. I have a hard time telling somebody else to do something because I figure, the way I was taught, if you want something done right, do it yourself, okay? So, you either hope everybody else is going to do the thing, or nobody's going to do it unless you do it. It's a wonder any of you are any use at all. Now, is that really quite fair to Elamir or to his parents even? No, it's not. Well, keep in mind, Margaret does have a little chip on his shoulder, and it's called the collar. Okay? He's not in love with the ab horses. Put it that way. So, they have the flight to the river. They run. They're chased by dead hens, etc. They get to the almost to the mill, and the horse collapses, page 510, about 100 yards from the mill. Okay? Sam lets go just in time. She drops dead. Mogget says, come on, do what you have to do. Sam's like, okay. He just nods, but he doesn't do anything. He draws his dagger, page 511, felt Sprout's neck. The pulse of her main artery was weak, erratic under his fingers. In other words, she's going to die soon anyways. Not even because of the dead hands. She's going to die just of cardiac arrest. He rests the dagger against that vein, that artery, but doesn't push it in. I can't. She might recover. Idiot. The dead will drink her blood and feast upon her flesh. You owe her better than that. Strike. I can't take a life. Well, that pretty much tells us if he can't take a life, he can't be Abhorsen. Because Abhorsen does what?
Puts the dead further in the
He
ground.
pushes the dead all the way in. Okay? Notice Abhorsens don't kill, though. Those that they send, they're already dead. Now, they might have to defending themselves against somebody who aligns himself with the dead, make somebody who is living, the dead. I realize that after the constables will wait together. That is, after Mogget said you didn't kill him. Notice, Sam thought he did. He wanted to. He thought he was coming up with a death spell. It didn't work. So, Mogget goes over to the horse, whips out its claw, and kills it. Okay. They run to the mill and notice who saves them at the mill. Is it Mogget?
No, Sam figures out
How?
to use the bathtub as a boat.
Notice the creative thought in the spur of the moment. Well, a bathtub is what? It's a boat.
waterproof.
As long as you've got something in the drain, or it doesn't have a drain, it's going to float. Okay? Throws it in the water, they jump in, and Mogget's like, hey, that wasn't bad. Okay? You're not as stupid as you look. Part 3. The Old Kingdom, still the same year. We're back at Lyriel. Okay? She goes to, what's this one called? Finder? Yeah. Goes to find her. They put her in the boat and stuff. And they send her down the river. Okay? Dog shows up. Wants to know where they're going. She says to find a guy named Nick near a town named Edge on a red lake. Page 532-33. Lyriel suggests 532. When the dog says, I don't like it. You're being sent into danger. No one really knows what's going on. The Clare, unable to see clearly, the king and the Abhorsen, not even in the kingdom. This hole in the ground that eats up lightning reminds me of something very bad indeed. Notice, you can't unlock it. Just leave it.
Oh no, I was like, it feels like sticky.
Yeah, it's okay. Notice what the dog's doing. He's saying the exact same stuff Mogget said. They both perceive the same things. Okay? So Lyriel says, well, we could go somewhere else. I mean, you put it that way. She doesn't say that you put it that way, but it's almost as if she does. The dog, no, we can't. You have a duty. I don't like it, but we've got it. I never said anything about giving up. The dog's just kind of going through, okay, here's the cons of what we're doing. He never suggests, therefore, we should run away. See, Sam does the run away part. The dog says, no, we have to run into this. We have to head it on. Lyriel, no. That is, no, we can't give up. She was about to say she hadn't suggested it either. She was just stating a possibility. Okay? But it would be clearly better to lie at this point. So, the dog says, those things that you found in the room, the mirror, the book, the pipes, you know how to use them? They might not be for me. It was Lyriel's path. Choosers will be beggars if the begging's not their choosing. What does that mean? I have no idea. Do you know how to use them? I read the Book of Remembrance and Forgetting. She read it cover to cover. Pretty soon, she's going to meet Sam. She's going to go, you have that book? What's that called? The Dead Book? How to Become Dead? The Book of the Dead. Yeah, you have that book? He's like, yeah, I've got that book. She's going to say, do you mind if I read it? I mean, her hands are kind of twitchy. She's like, I'm kind of drawn to death, man. Going all goth on him. She says, yeah, I've read it. So I guess I know the theory you should practice. You may need actual expertise later on, but I'll have to go into depth. I've never done that before. I'm a cleric. We don't go into, you should use the gifts you've been given. Well, that's exactly what Rael and Sangar told her. Not the gifts you wish you were given, like Sam thinks, but the gifts you were given. Okay? So, she says, okay. And she tries going into the dead, or into death. 536, 537. She holds out the pipes. And we get the tones, the names of the pipes / bells, whatever you want to call them, listed again. She sees the charter moving all across the tubes and stuff. First and least is Rana. Sleepbringer will take all those who hear it into slumber. Second, Mosrael, the walker, one of the most dangerous bells, still so in any form. Sound is a seesaw that will throw the piper further into death, even as it brings the listener into life. Kibeth, third, the walker, gives freedom of movement to the dead, forces the dead to walk at the piper's will. It can also make the piper walk where he does want to go. Fourth is Diary, the speaker, melodious, may grant speech to the dumb, tongue lost dead, or give forgotten words their meaning. Okay? Fifth is Belgayer, the thinker. It restores independent thought, memory, all patterns of what was once in life. So if you find a dead person, ring that bell, and it'll make the dead person tell you what the dead person remembers. Sixth, Sereneth, binder, speaks with a deep voice of power, shackling the dead to the wielder's will, and she pauses before the last one. Astarael, the sorrowful. Properly sounded, Astarael will cast all who hear it deep into death, including the piper. This is, don't use this one until all hope is lost. Dog, sleeper, waker, walker, speaker, thinker, binder, weeper. Notice slightly different names for some of them. Bells would be better, so she concentrates. She holds the blade. She reads the inscription on the blade. The Clare saw me, the wall makers made me, my enemies remember me. A sister's sword to bind her, says the dog. Didn't know there was one. What's it called? Nehema. What does that mean? It's a name. Notice, he knows it's a name, but he doesn't say much else. Suppose you could say it means forget me not. Though the irony is that Nehema herself is long forgotten. Still better a sword than a block of stone, I suppose. Heirloom of the house, if ever I saw one. Of what house? Abhorson's house? Because that's the only house that's talked about. The Clare's place isn't a house. I'm surprised they gave it to you. Okay? So, she goes into death, and there's the dog. The dog shows up too. She tells him to go back. Okay? And he does. Page 545. So she's in death. She's got the mirror. She has a picture of her mother. My mother I knew a little. My father I knew not, and would see through the veil of time. Let it be. What's she want to see? Who is my father? Boy, Terry could have used this, right? He would have figured it all out. So, she sees a room. Large room, 546. Hall, in fact, dominated one end, large window, not clear glass, bunch of different colors. Magic in the room. Long, brilliantly polished table. Okay. All kinds of silver, beeswax candles, candlesticks, etc., etc. A roast goose, half carved, on a platter. 2 people at the table, sitting one here and the other one way down at the end of that 40-foot table. Kind of hard to have a conversation. I've actually seen tables this long at places in England. Utterly ridiculous. Okay? A man sits at the head of the table, high back chair. Simple white shirt, no jewelry. Looks like somebody with power. Okay? At the other end, well, there's Mom. Ariel, Carrot's little sister. She looked beautiful in the soft camera light, her long blonde hair hanging in a brilliant waterfall down the back of her dress, an elegant creation of ice blue adorned with golden stars, cut low across the neck and back, and she wore a necklace of sapphires and diamonds. In other words, she's dressed to kill. Okay? So Lyriel looks at these two, vision of the past, and as she looks, it gets clearer and clearer. And she hears the man speak. I've heard many strange things under this roof, mistress. None as strange as this. It's not something I sought, the woman says, page 548. Notice, and we're not told much else, and none of your vision sisters have seen what you wish of me? None of the 9-day watch? None. Nope. And notice, little blush spreading on her neck. Notice we're not told what she's revealed yet, what she said to him. He's just kind of going, and you sure? This is what the clear... Okay. My wife has been dead these 18 years. So when is this? Okay, who is this?
I can't remember his name.
It's
This is Sabriel's dad. This is Sabriel's father. Okay? My wife has been dead these 18 years. When is this?
When Sabriel was 18.
This is at the beginning of the first book. Because Sabriel has just had her 18th birthday. Her mother dies when she is born. Okay? So, my wife has been dead these 18 years. This is just before he heads back up to Belisar and gets trapped. Okay? In death. My wife has been dead these 18 years, but I have a daughter grown who would be near your age. I am not unfamiliar with the imaginings of young women or the infatuations of youth. I am 25, sir. No girlish virgin dreaming of her mate. I'm a daughter of the Clare, and nothing but my sight would have brought me here to lie with a man I have never met who is old enough to be my father. So she leaves the Clare's glacier, goes all the way down to Abhorsen's house for a one-night stand. She's the only one of the Clare who saw this vision. Usually the other Clare see something like it too. He's kind of going, sounds kind of fishy to me. But she looks gorgeous, right? Yeah, if I must, I must, If fate and duty are going to compel me, well, The man put his cup down, smiled ruefully. His eyes were tired and untouched by the smile. I beg your pardon, mistress. In truth, I heard the sound of prophecy when you first spoke to me today. That is, because he's Abhorsen and he has the charter in him, it's kind of like when Maggott goes, I sense something, is what he's saying. But I put it from my mind. Why? Because I have to leave here tomorrow. Tomorrow's when he's going to get trapped in death. I must leave from here tomorrow to face many perils. I have no time for thoughts of love, and I have been proven a less than perfect parent. She's not talking about love, is she? That's why I said a one-night stand. She's talking about wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, close the door on your way out kind of a thing. Even if I were not away tomorrow and could linger here with you, Any child you bear would likely see little of its father. Even if you do conceive, your child's not going to know me. Not a matter of love, buddy. I'm not down here for a relationship. And a single night may beget a child as well as a year of striving, as it will, for I have seen her. In other words, it's a foregone conclusion. It just quick. It's going to happen. As to the lack of a father, she will have neither parent for very long. Well, just on the previous page, we're told Lyriel barely even remembers her mother's voice. Because after the age of 5, she was gone. You speak of a certainty, said the man. Yet the Clare often see many threads, which the future may weave this way or that. In other words, you guys aren't always so good on your future predicting. I see only a single thread in this, sir. There aren't many futures for me. Here's the one, said Ariel, reaching across to take the man's pale hand in her own brown fingers. Brown fingers. The Clare is supposed to be pale, right?
No. They're tan. with
Oh,
long
sorry,
hair.
I'm confusing. Because Lyriel's. Yeah. So, she goes on and says, I am here called by the visions granted by my blood as you are governed by yours. It is meant to be, cousin. But perhaps we can at least enjoy our single night, forgetting higher reasons. Let's go to bed. Let's just have sex. Just, come on. Let's just go relax for one night. We shall have our night, he said, rising from the chair. I know not what it means or what future will we here secure, but for once I am tired of responsibility, and let's go to bed. Okay? The two embrace, and Lyriel's like, no more, I don't want to say more. Stop the vision, you know. If she kept watching, she might even see the moment of her own conception, and that was too embarrassing. But even with her eyes shut, you know, the vision lingered till she blinks it away. She snaps the mirror closed, she puts it back in her belt pouch, and only then does she realize something else came through into death.
So are they actually cousins? Or is it like...
Well, we are told they're all related.
Brother of
The
Christ?
Clare calls everyone.
We are told that all three of these are ultimately related. So, you know, everybody's cousins, essentially.
They're related to the Carter, I think. Is what
Yeah, probably that's it. So, Hedge comes through. And he commands Lyriel, kneel before your master. She doesn't, you know. He comes closer, her own sword's in her hand, charter marks burning like golden suns, as Nehema reacted angrily to the free magic, you know, page 554. She bends down, blows her panpipes, etc. It strikes Hedge. Okay. Caught his feet with joyful trickery, so he starts dancing. He didn't mean to do that. Page 556. She breaks out of the death, and the dog's there. The dog says, "What was that?" A necromancer. The vision, the one the Clare showed me, it was Hedge. He almost killed me. The dog growls. I knew I should have stayed with you. Yes. Notice she admits, yep, you were right. He's going to send more. We got to get out of here. Okay? Dog growls. Page 559. Dog says, 558, let me back up. Free magic eats up necromancers. The power they seek to wield, the free magic they profess to master. Why does he say they profess to master? Why doesn't he say the free magic they master?
Because free magic is free. No one can really control it.
They don't really control it. The free magic is actually doing the controlling. Okay? It ultimately devours them. That power recognizes your blood. That's what he meant by, I know you. The I is the free magic that is in him. Says, I know you because of what is in you. The other charter magic. Okay? Because charter magic was once free magic. It was all free until some of it bound itself, which we'll talk about, in a while. So, Larry was like, I don't want anybody outside the glacier knowing me, knowing who I am, et cetera, et cetera. Page 559 then. She says, Dog, there's free magic in you. Maybe even more than the charter magic in your collar. Why aren't you like the necromancer? That is, why don't you want to kill me, dog? And the dog gives us some background. In the beginning, sounds like what? Genesis. In the beginning, God, in the beginning, all magic was free magic. Unconstrained, raw, unchanneled. Then the charter was created. Notice, we're not told in that sentence by what or how, which took most of the free magic and made it ordered, subject to structure, constrained by symbols. It'd be like going into Bartimaeus' other place and bringing order to it, because the other place is total chaos, right? The free magic that remains separate from the charter is the free magic of necromancy, of Stilken, Margru, Hish, Anolim, Gorger, all the other fell creatures, constructs, and familiars. It is the random magic that persists outside the charter. Okay, so there's also the free magic that helped make the charter, but was not consumed by it. The dog continues. That's quite different from the free magic that would not join in the creation of the charter. She's like, whoa, stop, time out here. You speak of the beginning. Could that be before the charter? I mean, it doesn't have a beginning or an end. The charter, she thinks, is eternal, outside time. Everything has a beginning, says the dog, including the charter. I should know. I was there at the birth of it. I mean, we're not in Kansas anymore, right? The dog just told her.
I'm older than the charter.
And if he's older than the charter, then he was involved in what?
The creation of it.
The making of the charter. When the 7 chose to make the charter, and the 5 gave themselves to the making. In a sense, you were there too, mistress. You are a descendant from the 5. The 5 great charters? She said, I remember the rhyme. Had to learn it as a child. 5 great charters knit the land together, linked hand in hand. 1 in the people who wear the crown, 2 in the folk who keep the dead down. 3 and 5 become stone and mortar, 4 sees all in frozen water. You got to make it rhyme. So water, mortar, Dog. Yes, that's right. Good rhyme. Good rhyme for little children to learn. The great charters are the keystones of the charter. The bloodlines, the wall, the charter stones, all come from the original sacrifice of the 5. So, these, who poured their power into the men and women who were your ancestors. Some of those, in turn, passed that power into stone and mortar, when blood alone was judged to be too easily diluted or led astray. She's like, okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So if the 5 were sort of dissolved into the charter, what happened to the other 2, right? Because he says the 7 and the 5. Okay. So what are the other 2? You said there were 7 who chose to make the charter. Dog. Well, actually, there were 9. It began with the 9. 9 who are most powerful, page 561, who possess the conscious thought and foresight that raised them above all the tens of thousands of free magic beings that clamored and strove to exist upon the earth. Of the 9, only 7 agreed to make the charter. 1 chose to ignore the 7's work, but was finally bound to serve the charter. The 9th fought and was barely defeated. Lariel, okay, so that's 8 and 9. This would be much easier to understand if we had names. She says you still haven't explained what happened to, so there were 5, so 8 and 9. 8 was bound, serves the charter. 9 was defeated. And how did he put it? Fought and barely defeated. Hold on just a second. She goes, well, what about 6 and 7? Because the 5 become these 5. 6 and 7. Why didn't they become part of the great charters? They put a great deal of their power into the bloodlines, but not all their being. I suspected they were perhaps less tired of conscious individual existence. They wished to go on in some form or another. I think they wanted to see what happened. And the 7, they did have names, by the way. They're remembered in the bells and in the pipes you have in your belt. Each of those bells and pipes has something of the original power of the 7, the power that existed before the charter. You're not one of the 7, are you? She asked the dog. She couldn't imagine that one of the creators of the charter, no matter how much power it had given away, would condescend to be her friend, or would continue to do so once its true loftiness had been established. Now, it's interesting that Nix uses that language of condescend. That's Christian language. And again, I don't know Nix's religious ideas, but there's an awful lot of Christian imagery, right? Because there's baptism, there's litanies, there's priests, all that kind of stuff, okay? Because the language that's used about the person of Christ is he condescended, the second person of the Trinity in Trinitarian Christian theology. The second person of the Trinity condescended to become human. Condescended means step down, okay? Well, what's described here? What did the 5 who went into these do? They sacrificed themselves. They poured themselves into these. Greek word that describes that is kenosis. It means self-emptying. Okay? Self-emptying. So, notice what we're told here. She's amazed that this dog would condescend to be her. She's like, I'm just a nobody. You're one of the most powerful beings, You're not one of the 7, are you? I'm the disreputable dog. Yeah, it's not named as one of the bells, right? Just a leftover from the beginning, freely given to the charter. Freely given, under no constraint. Can she take the dog's collar off? Yes, she can. How did the dog come to her? Was it through her magic? Her magic only went so far, and then what happened? She was channeling words, symbols, things she had never heard, never seen before, and there was all kinds of light, and there was free magic, and there was unbound, and I'll always be your friend, Lariel. You know that. And she says, I'll always be your friend too, until the dog dies. Okay? Sorry, shouldn't have said that. The dog let Lariel keep on hugging, but her ears were pricked, listening to the world around him. Oh, sorry, Alyssa's got a question in just a moment. Her nose kept sniffing the air, trying to get more of the scent that had come back from death. A disturbing scent, one the dog hoped was purely from her own imagination and long memory. Her, the dogs. Because it was not the smell of just one human necromancer, no matter how powerful. It was much, much older and much more frightening. Question.
Is Market number 8?
Do you want me to answer?
Kind of.
Yes.
Okay.
Margaret's number 8.
I figured because like bound to serve the charter.
Number
Bound to
9.
serve the charter.
Anybody have a guess as to number 9?
It's the destroyer.
It's the thing.
But they're digging up.
It's the thing they're digging up. Notice Nick is having visions of what? He doesn't see it yet. It's not uncovered yet. He's had visions of 2 metallic hemispheres. A sealed metallic ball. Open it up.
Oh.
And all hell breaks loose.
In the beginning of this one, it says that they repel each other.
Yeah, but they're kept together. That's why the hemispheres make a ball. Okay? This ball is buried and they're trying to dig it up. So, yeah, the dog says, that's when the dog says, sorry, it wasn't Mug, it's the dog. So you're a remembrancer. Huh. First in these last 500 years, unless I'm mistaken. Okay. Bath in the river. So they keep going on, and they see this floating bathtub. And they find Sam and Mogget. Notice she sees the bells. A necromancer, doesn't look like Hedge, shoots an arrow. 570. Cat speaks. What are you doing here? Now that's not, what would you expect if the cat's going to speak? If one of my cats spoke, I'd probably kill him. Because my cats hate me. Wake me up every night at 3 o'clock. So, if the cat's going to speak, and you've never seen the cat before, what do you expect the cat to say?
Who are you?
Who are you? Maybe throw in a few expletives. My cat would. 18-pound lard of. So, big old ginger. About as big as this thing. What are you doing here? Lyriel jumped. She was about to answer when she realized the cat's talking to the dog. Huh. Thought someone as slippery as you would know the answer to that. What are you called now? Who is that sorry ragamuffin with you? I am called Mogget. Most of the time, what name do you? And then the man, the sorry ragamuffin, okay, speaks, says, who and what are you? And you too, mistress. That's a Claire boat. Did you steal it? Why does he accuse her of stealing it?
She doesn't look like a
She
Claire.
doesn't look like a Claire. Okay. So the dog says, I'm the disreputable dog, companion to Lyriel, daughter of the Claire. Claire says, I am Lyriel, daughter of the Claire. Okay. Her anger overriding her familiar feeling of being an imposter. Who or what are you, besides insufferably rude? Wow. The man, boy, really? Whose perspective is that from? That's from Lyriel's. Stared back at her, and he thinks she can't be a Claire. Claire, tall, blonde, elegant. This girl, woman, whatever, dark-haired, wears odd clothes, bright red waistcoat, not at all like the star-dusted white robes of the Claire he'd seen in Belissaire. Okay? So he says, you don't look like a daughter of the Claire. Who are you? Why do you have bells of a necromancer? Okay? He forgets he's wearing them. They're not stuffed away. He says, Morgan, says for him, 572, well met, Mistress Lyriel. This ragamuffin, as your servant so aptly described him, is His Highness Prince Sameth, the Abhorsen in waiting. And your name again was what? Oh, that's right. You're just Lyriel. You don't have any prince, princess, something in waiting. Well, she does, but they don't know it yet. Hence the bells. But on to more serious matters. Could you save us? We're sinking. The dog. Yeah, he's a prince, all right. I can smell his blood. Wounded, too. It's making him irritable. Not much more than a pup, really. The other one? Careful. I know him of old. He's the Abhorsen servant, all right, but he's free magic of the bound variety. Well, they were just talking about free magic, and one of the free magic beings that would not willingly bind itself, so the others bound it. He doesn't serve his own free will. You must never loose his collar. Okay? So, they get Mogget and Sam into their boat, 574, and Liriel reaches across and touches his charter mark. Her sword held ready to strike. Her finger felt the familiar warmth of the true charter, bright and strong. Okay? And we're told, despite what the dog had told her, the charter certainly seemed to go on forever without beginning or end. Because when she touches it, it's like doing what? Falling into the charter. Okay? Falling into the other place, as it were. So, they talk about the dead. She notices his wound. Okay? He says, dead hands did it. They talk about the necromancer. Page 578, Liriel told him his name. Tried to cut my head off. Okay? 579. Sam's like, wait, hold on. You say you fought the necromancer in death, but you're clear. Clear don't go to death. I mean, nobody does except necromancers and my mother, Liriel. I do. I'm a remembrancer, and I had to find out something. Sam, what's that? Well, he would know if he read the Book of the Dead. Not because the Book of the Dead is the same as the Book of Remembrance, but because it has information, at least, about them. Okay? So, Book of the Dead, page 581. Sam, so you've seen Nicholas. He's gotten letters. It's it. He's definitely with this necromancer, okay? Digging up some terrible free magic thing. That must be the lightning trap. I was hoping stupidly it was coincidence. So Liriel tells him, according to Claire's vision, I've got to meet Nicholas at the Red Lake sometime soon. I don't want to go there unprepared, not if Hedge is with them. He looked sick. He'd reached out his hand to her, said hello, sick and confused. 583, I think the free magic, bottom of 583, top of 584. I think the free magic was affecting him, but he didn't realize it. Sam then offers a little bit of understanding about maybe why Nick is doing some of the things he's doing. Nick never really understood what it was like here or accepted the idea that magic works. He'd only got worse as he got older, always asking why. He never accepted anything that seemed to contradict his understanding of the forces of nature and the mechanics of how the world worked. Liriel. Well, I don't understand angel steer. I mean, I've heard about it, but it might as well be another world. The dog. It is. Sam. It always seemed less real than here. Well, that's the same way in other fantasy literature. That's the same way people who leave our world and go to another world describe it as. It seems a little less real, less concrete, unless one exception. Unless they're going to the Celtic otherworld, the world that Alexander bases Prydain on. There, all the descriptions of that world are that it is more real, more concrete, more colorful than our world. It's like our world is a pale shadow, an imitation of it. All right? So, Nick goes on with his description. Sam goes on with his description of it. And then Liriel and the dog talk about Hedge, page 585. Or the dog does. There's a smell about Hedge, a smell of power strong enough for me to catch when Liriel escaped him. I think he is more than a necromancer. Whatever he is, he's clever, is long prepared to move against the kingdom. He will have servants among the living as well as the dead. Now, that's a warning, but it's a warning who needs to hear? Not Sam, not Liriel. That's a warning Abhorsen, Sabriel, and Touchstone need to hear. Because he has servants in ENGL that we'll see in the next book. Okay? So, they keep talking where they're going to go. Sam said, I had a horse, the horse is dead. And he goes to sleep. 587. That's when Liriel says, he's a spoiled brat. She wasn't used to this sort of behavior. On her exploration, she had done what she wanted, and in the library, there was strict discipline, chain of command. Sam had provided useful information, but otherwise, he seemed to be a nuisance. I was just trying to make some sort of plan. Maybe we should leave him behind. The dog. He's troubled. But he's also been through much that tested him beyond all expectation, and he is hurt and afraid. He'll be better tomorrow and in the days to come. Who's the older of the two?
She's 19.
Liriel. She's a couple years older. Okay? So, because you know who Liriel's mother is, and you know who Liriel's father is, what is Liriel's relation to Sam? She's an aunt. He's not aware of that yet. Because in a few pages, he's going to go, well, I'm not a bad-looking guy. She's not so bad herself. And we're both young, and we're out here, and there's dogs and cats, and, forget the dogs and cats. Liriel, I hope so. That is, talking about helping you feel better. After all, it's his job, being a person in waiting. I should be safely back at the glacier while he deals with Hedge. Notice, Rael and Sanar said, this is your gift. You have to do this. She's saying, yeah, but he's a person in waiting. That's his gift. His gift. Take care of necromancers. Your problem. Dog says, if the Abhorsen and the King are correct about Hedge's plans, nowhere will be safe, and all who bear the blood must defend the charter. Well, the Clare don't get off easy then. Oh, dog, why is everything so difficult? It just is. What's the dog mean? It just is. Suck it up, Buttercup. Life's a crapshoot. Deal with what you get dealt. Okay? So, dog tells her to go to sleep. Liriel swats a mosquito, and Sam pulls out his frog, lines it up, tells her, sorry I behaved badly before. This will help with the mosquitoes. The dog, genius. I made it for my mother, said Sam, self-pity evident in his voice. It's about the only thing I'm really good at, making things. I'm not a good fighter. I don't go into death. I don't read books about death. Liriel nods. Okay? Sam talks about the horse. I couldn't kill her. Morgan had to. I should have done it, but I was afraid. Top of 590. Afraid of death. I always have been. Does it really sound like his gift then is going to be to go into death? Day in and day out. Liriel doesn't say anything, but she's thinking. No one had ever shared something so personal with her before. Least of all, something like this. He's Abhorsen's son, Abhorsen in waiting. It wasn't possible he could be afraid of death. That's like a Clare being afraid of the sight. She says, no, it's okay. You're tired, you're wounded. You'll feel better in the morning. You'll wake up and go, yay, let's march into death, Sam turns. You went into death. You're not even supposed to. Were you afraid? Yes, but I followed what it said. What book? The Book of the Dead? She says no. Book of Remembrance and Forgetting. It deals with death only because that's where a remembrancer has to go to look into the past. Never heard of it. I'm supposed to be studying the Book of the Dead. I can't stand looking at it. I tried to leave it behind, but it followed me with the bells. Notice, he didn't pack them. And yet when he got on his horse in the morning, They were in the saddle pack. I can't get away from it, but I can't look at it either. And now I probably need them both to save Nick. It's so bloody unfair. I never asked to be the ab person in waiting. Okay? And Ariel's like, yeah, well, I never asked for my mom to go screw some guy and then disappear when I was 5 years old. Do you mind if I look at the bells? She asks. She can feel their power even as they lay there. How do you use them? Sam, the Book of the Dead explains their use. Can't really practice, only to be used in earnest. No, don't. She goes, oh, I'll be careful. Notice, she asks, she doesn't wait for him to say yes. She just reaches right over. He had gone pale, quite white in the darkness, and was shivering. I know a bit about them already. They're like my pipes. Sam shuffles back. He knows what the bells do. You can look at them if you really want. Over there, She nods. Sam watched her touch the bells and shivers, remembering how cold and heavy they had felt on his chest. Lariel's scarf had fallen back, letting her long black hair tumble out. Something about her face in the firelight, something about the way her eyes reflected the light that made Sam feel odd. He had the sense he'd seen her before. Well, I don't know, Mother? But that was impossible. Could I also have a look at the Book of the Dead, she asked. Sam, it could destroy you. It's not to be trifled with. She goes, I know. I can't explain. I got to read it. The Clare were cousins of the royal line and the Abhorsen, so he supposed Lyria had the blood right. Enough not to get destroyed, so she'd studied the Book of Remembrance, whatever that was. He goes, it's over there. Notice, has Sam pulled the book out of the saddle? No. So I said, he can't even look at it. He points at it. She gets it, and we're told, page 595, she'd stayed up all night reading the Book of the Dead, finishing the last page just as the sun rose. Much of the book was already lost to her. She knew she'd read the whole thing, or had at least read every page she turned, but she had no sense of the totality of the text. That is, it's not like she closed the last page and said, oh, I get it. It's like she closed the last page and was like, huh? It would require many rereadings, as it could offer something new each time. Notice, Sabriel doesn't even catch that when she finishes it the first time. Only the last page stayed fixed in her mind. Does the walker choose the path or the path choose the walker? And she thinks about that. Okay? And she wonders about it. Page 598. Sam asks about the dog's collar. And Lyriel asks why. Why do you want to look at his collar? It has charter marks I've never seen. Looked like leather with charter marks set upon it, but as his fingers met the surface, Sam realized it wasn't leather at all. It was nothing but charter marks, a great sea of marks stretching into forever. He felt as if he could push his whole hand into the collar or dive in himself. And within that great pool of magic, there were very few charter marks that he actually knew. So he pulls his hand away, and he scratches the dog's head. Feels like a dog, just like Mogget feels like a cat, but he knows Mogget's not a cat. Both were intensely magical beings. Only Mogget's collar was a binding spell of great force. The dog's collar was something different, almost like a part of the charter itself. It felt like a charter stone. Sam, to the dog. 599. Some of the charter marks in your collar are familiar, but I can't think where I've seen them. That is, I know I've seen them, I just don't know where. They're not the same as in Mogget's collar. Dog, you think too much. Sam asks Lyriel, is the dog always this demanding? She's rereading the Book of the Dead. Okay. So they make their way to High Bridge, and they're going to be attacked. We're going to skip a bunch. Pages 614 and 15. Liriel realizes Sam's not as useless as she initially thought. Middle of 615. She sees his fingers move swiftly and surely, charter marks beginning to glow in the air. They hung there shining just beyond the arc his fingertips were describing. Whatever else he might be, she thought, Sam was a very powerful charter mage. He might be afraid of death and the dead, but he wasn't a coward. Huge distinction. She wouldn't want to be sitting there with only a spell between her and the razored edges of a crossbow. She shivered. If it were not for Finder, she would probably already be dead. Okay? Page 616, 17. Another boat. Dog moves up, howls. The dog, 617, draws a breath, okay, because someone else shoots again. The dog draws breath, howls again. The assassin drops his crossbow so he could jam his fingers in his ears. But even then, he couldn't block out the terrible sound. His legs moved of their own accord, stepping out into space. This is a guy up on a bridge, and he steps out through the hole that he's shooting through. Desperately tries to hurl his upper body backwards into the room, but he seemed to have no control at all below the waist. Notice what the dog is doing. It's howling, and what effect is it having on the assassin? It's making him walk. Well, there's a bell called the walker, right? You blow that bell, and you bind the other person, you make the other person walk. A moment later, he fell, following the crossbow down 400 feet into the water. He kept his fingers in his ears all the way down. Liriel, what did you do? I made him walk, the dog says. She nods. She gives the dog a hug. Sam watches him. That howl was pure free magic. Page 618. No charter magic in it at all. The dog seemed friendly, appeared to be devoted to Liriel, but he could not forget how dangerous she was. There was also something about the howl that reminded him of something, some magic he had experienced that he couldn't quite place. At least Mogget's case was straightforward. He was a free magic creature, bound and safe while he wore the dog collar. The dog appeared to be a free-willed blend of the two magics, which was completely beyond anything Sam had ever heard about. Well, what has Liriel not taken the time, not that they've had the time, to explain to Sam? What did the dog explain to Liriel? He talked about the 9, right? And the 7 and the 5. Did he say, I am one of the 9? No. She said, are you? He said, I'm the disreputable dog. In other words, I'm not really going to answer that question. Yet. You got to wait till you get to the very, literally, the very end of book 3. Okay? Where the dog and Mogget are ultimately, completely, totally explained. Okay? But Sam notices something here. Okay? So, we'll go on. Chapter 41, Free Magic, Flesh of Swine. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I skipped this last time I taught this. 636, 637. Yeah, it's when, Sam kind of hits on her and she says, I'm 35, which means she's an old lady. Dog says, she uses ointments, it helps her look a little bit younger. Sam's like, really? Ew, 636. They're wet and stuff. And we're told, Mogget says about the dog, mad, absolutely mad. Mad meaning crazy, not angry, out of its mind. As he watched the dog get drenched. The dog had resumed his post near the mast and was once again licking himself dry. But then she always was. Dog, I heard that. Of course you did. I don't suppose I could trouble you to take off my collar so I can get properly dry. Because we know what Mogget is when he doesn't have his collar on, right? A column of flaming white light. Sam warns Lyriel, be careful with Mogget, bottom of 637. He's nearly killed my mother in his unbound form, 3 times in fact, during the time she's been abhorsen. This is when Lyriel is scratching Mogget's tummy. He kind of pulls back like, which Mogget's not happy with. So, Lyriel's going to make some charter skins, or a charter skin. Sam's like, really? Can I watch? That's cool. Okay. Sutherlings and a Necromancer, chapter 42. I'm going to skip a bunch. Yeah, we see all the Sutherlings. They try to help them. Clore shows up. Sam fights off Clore. The dog barks. Page 656. Charter magic in the bark. It hit Clore as she struck, because she's getting ready for a death blow on Sam. Her arms flash gold and sizzled, white smoke cloud gouting out of 1,000 tiny holes. A blow that should have impaled Sam went awry, the sword sinking deep into the earth. Her unnatural strength had gone into the blow. She struggles to free the weapon. The dog advances upon her, growling. The hound had grown, was now the size of a desert lion, teeth and claws. Okay. She and the dog kind of go back and forth. There's free magic in his bark again, page 657, reinforced with charter spells. She curses the dog. The dog says to Lyriel and the others, I've only forced it out of its shape. It's too powerful for me to send it to death or destroy. Sam tells him who it is. Clore the Mask, a necromancer, one of the greater dead, back from beyond the 7th or 8th gate. They go back to the boat. Let's see here. They find the guy in the river. Next chapter, I think we're going to end up leaving a bit early. Yeah. 665. So Lyriel and Sam fall asleep in the boat, and the dog and Mogget are both awake. Mogget seemed to be asleep, very bottom of the page, at his customary post near the mast, but he opened one bright green eye as the dog looked back. I saw it too, said Mogget. On the greater dead, that Clore. Yes, said the dog, her voice troubled. I trust you will have no trouble remembering where your loyalties lie. So Mogget says to the dog, I saw it too. Now we're not told what the it was that Mogget saw. It's something on Clore. And the dog says, yes. Dog's acknowledging. What you saw, I know is there. And then the dog says, I trust you will have no trouble remembering where your loyalties lie. What does that mean?
Like, well, maybe we'll try to work for her since she's previously abhorsen.
Okay, possibly.
Does that have to do with the 9?
Yeah, he gets agreed with the 9.
Since we know he's 8, he's the forced bound. And she's working.
Well, you don't necessarily know he's 8, other than I've told you. My wife is calling me. Stop. I don't know why. Probably should have checked. Somebody's dead or something.
Jesus Christ.
You know, half an hour is not going to make any difference. So, I trust you will have no trouble remembering where your loyalties lie. Notice the verb, remembering. Yes?
Hey, so
Quick, I'm in class. Okay, I'll meet you there. Bye. My wife's going to the ER. So this will be really quick. Okay, so why remembering? You said it.
What I've said a lot of things this class.
Well, no, just a couple moments ago.
He's with the 9.
Because he's one of the 9.
Oh yeah, he's down.
Okay. And did the 8 help bind the 9th? We're not
Unless he
sure.
was forced to. Was
We're
he
not
bound and then he was forced?
We're not sure. Well, if he was bound in the cat shape, probably wouldn't be a whole lot of use binding the 9th. And the 9th is
The destroyer.
the destroyer. Okay? That's the name, Uranus. Okay? So there's something about chlor that's pretty dangerous, obviously. So we're going to skip a bunch more.
Mogget can change his form though.
Yeah. Yes. Because Mogget will show up as an albino dwarf at times.
Well, no, because he was able to like change his like paw, hand, whatever, like in order to.
Yeah, I mean, he turns it into fingers and things like that, but he's still, in his bound form, he's not nearly as powerful. Let's put it that way. In his bound form, he couldn't have saved Sabriel in the Paperwing. He couldn't have turned, for example, what's his name's flying castle? Howl's flying. He couldn't have turned into Howl as the big flying monster thing and rescue her that way. Okay, so there's more gore crows, and they make their way to Abhorsen's house. What especially does Sam think once they get to Abhorsen's house? Okay, what else is Abhorsen's house to Sam? Home, right? It's like the summer house, Got houses everywhere because they're royalty. What's he think once they get there?
He's safe.
Rest, refuge. Now we can gather our wits, we can rest, we can build up our supplies, and you can go meet Nick, like you're supposed to, because you've seen that. What did the Claire not see? Him. They didn't see Sam and Lyriel, they just saw Lyriel. I mean, if I were Sam, I would be betting a lot on that. I'd be going, look, So they get there. And the Sendings bring Lyriel a coat. 681. She comes downstairs. She's all nice and clean now. And Sam's going, ain't no way she's 35. First of all, I don't care what kind of ointment she uses. Ain't no way. And a Sending keeps following her, and it's got this coat, the big overcoat-like thing, over its arm. And she's, no, I've got my own coat. Waistcoats and surcoats don't go together. Sam kind of noticed that. Lyriel had seen all of this, that is, Lyriel, when she goes into the big hall, sees the big table, she puts 2 and 2 together. The chair had been occupied by the man who was her father. 682. Sam says, there you are. Sorry I'm late. Couldn't get the Sendings to give me the right surcoat. What should he be wearing, he thinks? Abhorsen in waiting surcoat. The coat with the keys and the bells on it. I think it's got bells. This one doesn't have it. This one. Okay. Lyriel turns around, looks at his surcoat. It had the golden towers of the royal line, but they were quartered with a strange device she had never seen, some sort of trowel or spade in silver. A trowel. What do you use a trowel for?
Digging.
No, close.
Isn't a trowel like a shovel?
No.
Or no,
A
isn't a trowel
spade
for
is-
plants?
Trowel is generally shaped like this. It's got a handle.
Oh,
often has a
like
point.
mortar.
Sometimes it's just like that. And it's used for putting the mortar between brick. You set a line of brick, you get a trowel load of mortar, you slap it on, you level it off, you put another brick on. Mortar, level it off, slap a brick on, etc. Notice with descendings who don't make mistakes, ever, what they are saying about Sam.
He makes walls.
Louder?
He makes walls.
He's a wall maker. He's a maker. He's not a wall maker, he's a maker. He has that part of the charter blood in it. Because remember what the dog said. Some of them did what? They used some of the leftover charter and made these. Okay? So he's like, I've got the wrong coat on. So she's going, It's the wallmaker's trowel, Sam says. They've all been gone for centuries, 1,000 years at least. I like your hair. Wasn't wearing her headscarf, black hair, brush shining. Waistcoat didn't really hide her slender form. She was really very attractive. And Sam's thinking, man, who does she remind me of? And he asks her what, because she's standing in the doorway looking at the table. She couldn't speak. She beckoned to the sending. It carries her surcoat. She takes it and unfolds it. She folds it up again. She counts to 10, closes her eyes, and she unfolds it again. What is it? Are you all right? I don't know how to say this. She undoes the waistcoat, hers, takes it off, hands it to the sending, takes the surcoat, unfolds it, puts it on, and on the coat were the golden stars of the Clare, quartered with the silver keys of the Abhorsen. I must be half Abhorsen. You can't be half Abhorsen. Why? Because it's not a line. It's what? It's a title. It's a job. In fact, I think I'm your mother's half-sister. Hi, nephew Sam. And he's going, and I've been having those thoughts, you know. Your grandfather was my father. I'm your aunt, your half-aunt. And Sam's like, because he shuts his eyes for several seconds. Does mom know? I don't think so. So, Mogget says, when Sam wonders, how did the sendings know? Mogget, I told him. How did you know? I have served the Abhorsens for many centuries, said Mogget, so I tend to know what's what. Once I realized that Sam was not the Abhorsen in waiting, I kept my eyes open for the real one to turn up, because the bells wouldn't have appeared unless her arrival was imminent. And I was here when Lariel's mother came to see Turciel. Ah, there he's named. That is the former Abhorsen. It was rather elementary. You mean, I'm not, Sam asks. Lariel, but I can't be. She likes death. I mean, I don't want to be. I'm a Clare. I'm complain all you like, but the blood will out. You are the Abhorsen in waiting. You must take up the bells. Sam's like, here you go, sister. Aunt. Thank the charter. I mean, I was never going to be any good. You'll be a much better Abhorsen in waiting, Lariel. Look at the way you went into death with only those little pipes. And you fought heads, you got away. Just wait till you have the real bells and the real sword. I mean, this will be cool. And I can make stuff. Yee! Little frogs, you know. I'm a daughter of the Clare. She wanted to know who her father was. Now she knows. Does the walker choose the path or the path the walker? She wants to choose her path, right? She wants that path to be, let me go back up north, look in the nice ice theater room, and, you know.
Seems like a sad way of life, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'll never have the sight, will I? She was half Clare, half Abhorsen's blood that ran strongest. The dog. No, you won't, mistress. Notice, it's not Mogget that says it, it's the dog. but it is your Clare heritage that gives you the gift of remembrance. Notice, if she were Abhorsen only, she wouldn't have that. For only a child of Abhorsen and Clare can look into the past. You must grow in your own powers for yourself, for the kingdom, for the charter. Okay, so I'll never have the sight. I'll never have the sight. She hugs the dog. Is it really that important to you? I mean, I'm really relieved that you're Abhorsen and waiting. I never wanted the sense of death. 688. Sam goes on. When he caught me, I wanted to die because then it would all be over. But I got out. I knew I could never go into death again. I'm babbling, aren't I? Sorry. Mogget. More than 100 words in a row, and most of them made sense. What's he saying? You're getting better, Sam. There is hope yet for you, particularly since you are quite right. Liriel is so obviously an Abhorsen that wanting the sight must be solely a peculiarity of her upbringing. I wanted to belong. Who doesn't want to belong? And yet her belonging means what? Or her wanting to belong really means what for her? To deny herself. That is, she wouldn't be who she is if she really did belong with the Clare. Now, I could be entirely wrong here. I think Nix is getting a little subversive kind of message into his young adult readers, because that's primarily who this is aimed at. You don't have to get along. You don't have to mix with everybody. It's okay to be who you are. Okay? Mogget goes on. Liriel goes on. It was only the shock of losing a childhood dream, she told herself, in a way she'd known ever since she'd been blindfolded before being allowed into the observatory. She had known her life would change. She would never have the sight. Mogget, you belong here. I'm the oldest servant of the Abhorsens. I feel it in my very marrow. The Sindings likewise. Look at the way they cluster there just to see you. Notice they're not all clustered around Sam, because this is Abhorsen's house. She's Abhorsen in waiting now. Look at the charter lights that burn brighter above you than anyone else, which is kind of interesting because Sam is pretty powerful. This whole house, its servants welcome you. So will the Abhorsen and the king, and even your niece. She looks around, and there's a whole throng of the suckers, and they're bowing now at her. Dog, Mogget is correct. Your blood has made you what you are. You should remember it's not just the high office of Abhorsen in waiting you have gained, it's a family. She wanted to be accepted. She wanted to be one of the... No, now she's found what? Her true family. She never knew her mother. Her aunt is what kind of person? Kind you don't want around. The only one who was nice to her was her great family-wise, her great-great-grandmother, and she only got to know her like 5 minutes before the old lady kicked off. It is a family you have found, and all will welcome you. Sam, you betcha. Can't wait to see Elamir's face, etc., etc. And Sam's like, come on, let's go north. Let's have a... You're forgetting something, Mogget points out. Hedge, Nick, Lightning Trap, little town west of us, Liriel. 691, right in the middle. Yep, that's what we should be concerning ourselves with. We have to work out what to do. And Sam thinks, page 692, but if I'm not the Abhorsen in waiting, I don't really see how I can be much help. Though he does have his own surcoat, which is kind of important, because he's a maker. That is, he can make things that bind things. He can make things that constrict things, because somebody obviously had to make the original collar that Mogget is wearing. I was thinking of staying here, Sam says. And Liriel just stares at him. You little conniving, weak-livered lily. You can't. It isn't just 693, rescuing your friend Nicholas. Think about what Hedge is trying to do. He's planning to kill 200,000 people and unleash every spirit in death upon the kingdom. You just going to let that happen? The kingdom needs your help. You may not be a horse in waiting. You're still a prince of the kingdom. Yeah, but I'm afraid of death. You think the 200,000 aren't? I'm afraid of Hedge. I can't face him. So am I, she says. The dog. Here, here. It's always better to be doing, Prince. Besides, you don't smell like a coward, so you can't be one. You don't smell like one. You can't be one. What's the dog really saying?
I mean, she's seen him do, like, not cowardly.
She's going to mention that in just a moment. The dog's implying, so quit talking like one. You didn't hide from the crossbowman at High Bridge, right? He was right out there in the front. Or the construct when it came across the water, that was brave. I'm sure that whatever we face won't be as bad as you think. Mogget, no, it'll be worse. You know, he's smart to be afraid. Think how much worse it would be to sit here not knowing. Until the dead choke the Ratterman and Hedge walks across the dry bed of the river to batter down the door. Okay? So Sam says, I'm still afraid. So you'll come to find Nicholas and Hedge? Yep. And we get the epilogue. Okay? I'm going to skip all of the epilogue since I do want to get to the emergency room. 703. The song that Nick sings. I'll sing you a song of the long ago, 7 shine the shiners oh. What did the 7 do way back when? Why, they wove the charter then. 5 for the warp from beginning to end, 2 for the woof to make and mend. The warp and woof, if you're not into weaving, are the way the threads in fabric go. One is the warp, the other is the woof. Okay? 5 for the warp from beginning to end, 2 for the woof to make and mend. That's the 7. But what of the 9? What of the 2 who chose not to shine? The 8 did hide all the way, but the 7 caught him and made him pay. The 9th was strong and fought with might, but lone Uranus was put out of the light, broken in 2 and buried under hill, forever to lie there, wishing us ill. So Uranus was bound, put under the hill. 2 for the woof to make and mend, that's the 7, but what of the 9? The 8th did hide, what's the 8th? Mogget, okay. You want their names? Mogget is pronounced, I don't know how it's pronounced, Yrael, Y-R-A-E-L. The dog, what do we know what the dog is? Because we saw the dog do to the assassin something, right? Made him walk. He's the walker. What bell is the walker? Kibeth. Kibeth. The dog is Kibeth. Also called Astarael. Okay? All right. We'll stop there. Next week is our last night. Okay? It is. Because the week after that's Thanksgiving. The week after that is the Thursday that begins no class. Yeah. So next week we'll do Ann Porson. I will give out the exam, and it's going to be due probably the Monday after Thanksgiving, December 2nd. Monday. Because we're not going to have classes yet. I'll spell all that out. And I'll also send out tomorrow the thing about if you want to revise a paper for 2 grades higher. You can do that. I'll also include where you can send checks to a routing number, all that kind of stuff. Shouldn't have said that part because that's going to be on YouTube now.